Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this edition of Drive Time here, January 26th at 5 p.m. Today's show is brought to you by Peace Belly, who is right here, ready for his belly rubs during the show. So this big fluff muffet, all that you see here is just Peace Belly. So everyone say hi to Peace Belly. Peeve is officially has applied and has taken over the spot of Chester for office manager. So he thinks that he's the new office manager. So I'm going to let him have it for now. So he's replaced my buddy Chester. So Scooter, how you doing today?
Good. We got snowed in, but I worked today, so I got out. Not everyone did. So
Yeah, I think we ended up with about 14 inches here, and it's snowing again. So we'll see how much we end up with after this one. Sarah, I think everything seems to be okay for you there in North Carolina land.
Yeah, I've not had a great week, guys. On Wednesday I hit a deer. And then
Oh dear.
now, yeah, oh
Oh.
dear. Um, and then I've had obviously trouble getting to and from where my car's fine, it's drivable, but with the winter storm too, like just not, I didn't want to risk it. And then now there's supposed to be another winter storm next weekend, so things are a little messy. We're getting through. School's canceled for tomorrow, so we do a remote, but it's still somewhat of a break, I think.
We have to put winter storm in parentheses when we talk about North Carolina.
It wasn't even like a winter storm down here. It was mostly ice, although I will say we thankfully got more sleet than freezing rain.
Yeah.
But everything still froze over in the end, so
The only thing that can drive on ice is Zambonis. So yeah, that's it. So all right, well, let's get to it. We got a lot to cover and just a little time to cover it in. So let's get us started here with, of course, the basic fun stuff. You know that you can watch the shows on YouTube and Facebook, but now you can also check us out on YouTube live pretty much 24/7. You can watch any of the Sideline Junkie Sports shows on there whenever you want. It's kind of a neat little feature. But if for whatever reason you can't watch us and you want to just listen to this, to these amazing voices talk, you can do that on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Catbox, and Odyssey, and that's available the next day. So you can actually, listen to Drive Time while you're driving if you so choose to. So it's all good stuff. The Sideline Junkies Podcast Network is just a growing. And of course, we have to start off with a couple of Jose Can You Sings. Now, look, I'll be honest, after what we had last weekend, any anthem that came after that was going to be probably pretty hard for me to give a really good score on. But the first one after it still did pretty good, because the very first one was Jamal Roberts. He was the national anthem singer for the college football championship game, and he did pretty good. He got a 45, so just slightly out of that top 10, but above average, which the above average is right now rolling right around 41. And then last night was Zach Top for the NFC Championship game, a country singer, definitely had that country twang in it, and he was okay. I think Sarah texted me right afterwards, like, what I think of it, and I was like, it was fine. It was a little long, it was a little slow, and I'm not a big fan of slow. And I'm pretty sure he mumbled the first couple words of the second verse. Like, it sounded like a mumble to me. So he got a 41, and I think that's probably being kind out that I think originally it said a 40, but I bumped him up one after re-listening to it. But they're both good, but no Jim Cornelison. Let's just put it like that. Anyone have any thoughts on the anthems?
I know a little bit of Zach Top. I don't listen to him. I just know kind of he exists. I'm trying to get a little bit back into country. I just haven't fully started it yet. But yeah, I did text you immediately after, and I was like, "What?" Because I thought he honestly did good, but it's whatever.
And I didn't see one for the AFC Championship game, and I did get on just before kickoff, but I don't remember them showing one for the AFC Championship game. And they had a 3-hour pregame, so maybe it was on there. I don't know, but either way, I didn't see it, so therefore it doesn't count. So all right, let's get into some football stuff here now, and of course we will start with the games from yesterday, and we're going to go in order. Also I think this is the order as far as. Not that this game wasn't exciting. If you like defense, this was your game. If you like bad offense, this was your game. Now, I will say this. If you like watching the game in the blizzard, the second half, this was your game, because that went from looking like a pretty nice day in Denver to playing in all straight hell the second half. So it was kind of interesting that way for sure. But New England wins this game 10-7. To me, the big turning point of this game was early in that second quarter when Sean Payton had a 4th and 1, could have kicked the field goal, went for it, didn't get it. The New England's only touchdown comes off of a Denver turnover at the 10-yard line. But besides for that, really, New England's offense didn't do much either on this game. So a couple of the stats here. May ends up going 10 for 21 for a whopping 86 yards, but did have 65 big rushing yards and a couple timely rushes that really sealed the deal for this game. Stevenson had 71 yards as well. Stedham for Denver, he wasn't terrible, but not great. 17 for 31. I still think they threw the ball way too much for 133 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 INT. So, Scooter, let's start with you. What were your thoughts on this game?
Well, just like you said it, like when they showed the pre-game, I'm like, oh, no snow today. It's beautiful out there. I mean, it looked like absolutely wonderful weather. It didn't even look like there was a cloud in the sky. Next thing you know, like that went through the entire game, and then it was like, yeah. I mean, they dumped a whole bunch of snow within like 10 minutes. It was unreal what goes on in that state with that snow. But yeah, there was absolutely no offense. There was Sean Page once again. Here we go again, talking about kick the field goal, take the points, because you take your 3 points, it's 10-10.
Right.
And you know, you're probably going to overtime because no one, I mean, you could be double, triple overtime in that kind of game, which is what I was hoping for. But but the defenses were great. Like, you have to look at it before that storm, because 3/4 of the game, it was perfect weather, if you will.
Right.
And then, I mean, so those defenses took care of business. Now the offenses, they didn't look too good, but the defenses took care of business.
Sarah, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I obviously saw New England playing up on top. I'm kind of surprised the score was how it was. I know that the second half was very messy, but I feel like maybe they could have scored a couple more points in the first half. Because, like, in a way, maybe it was like almost, it wasn't boring, you know, but like the scored means like, okay, not much happened here. It's just a bunch of back and forth, which is a good sign in these conference championships. So, not really much to say. I wouldn't, I mean, trying to go for a touchdown over a 3-pointer in a game like this, that's just a decision that you don't really want to do. But I can't really say I'm surprised in a way, because I mean, Denver does have those moments, I feel. Every team has those moments, but it's whatever. I mean, Stidham played okay. Just gotta maybe next year. Maybe next year.
Yeah, and then Coach checking in with us. And Coach, if you can, throw up in the chat too who you got coming on your show today, because I forgot to ask you that earlier. So if you can give me that, if you do that, I'll put in the plug for you for your show coming up tonight. Coach Devon from Pretenders and Contenders, of course, who is on right after us at 7 o'clock checking in. Bad decisions all games by Peyton, and I did want to touch on this because that's 100% correct. I thought even the first drive where he starts off with 2 straight run plays, like, you got Garrett Stidham, like, to me, you knew New England was going to come out playing, okay, you know they're going to run the ball. Like a play action pass on the first play of the game, I think would have probably been something really, really to go for and just give them a shot. And then after that, and then even on the one where he fumbles, it's a 3rd and 5 from like their 15. It was the way that they were formatting. It was pretty obvious that they were going to try to do a screen pass. New England had it played perfectly. And, you know, Stedham's just running for his life and then tries to throw it forward and it ends up going backwards. And New England, of course, recovers it. I thought that play call was A, very predictable, B, was snuffed out, and just Sean Payton could have done something totally different, not taking the 3. And then when he does go for the 3 in that driving snowstorm, which granted, you know, New England the guy gets a hand on it, maybe it would have been good if he doesn't, but like that would have maybe been the better time to go for it, just because I don't know how anyone could have felt confident about a kicker getting a kick through with the way the winds were swirling in there. You just had no clue. And there were 3 missed field goals in that game. You know, I think New England's kicker got a little lucky that his was earlier in the 3rd quarter. So yeah, I agree with that. I think sadly, if you're a Broncos fan, there was many chances to win this game, and Sean Payton did not do well in this game at all.
Yeah, I'd like to jump on that too. You're right, and Coach is right too. Because you know you sort of saw both coaches be tentative the entire game, especially when the weather got bad with their if you will young quarterbacks. I know Stidham is 28, 29, but
right,
unproven quarterbacks, if you will. And now Vrabel, we're slowing this game down, and we're not going to put him in a bad position. And if we got to punt, we got to punt. You got to throw it. Now, I think to the detriment for Sean Payton was he kind of did the same thing. And Sean Payton isn't the type of coach to do that. Sean Payton needs to go and have a little more oomph in Stidham. Let him do a little, like you were saying, play action pass. Those are unbelievable. It changes the defense, and they both played real tentatively. But one coach did it right and one coach did it wrong.
Yeah, and I got it when New England did because they're up 10-7, and the way that their defense was playing, he basically was daring Denver to score points, and they couldn't do it. That was the bottom line. They just couldn't do it at all. So, Sarah, any thoughts on Peyton and his screw up?
I'm not really great on the knowledge of coaches. I mean, I judge some just based off like names that I might recognize. But I mean, yeah, it's not great decisions. But I can't say that any other team isn't, not guilty of it. It happens.
Yep, I agree. All right, so before we get into the game, here's who's coming on the show tonight for at 7 for Pretenders and Contenders. He's got an action-packed show. Coach Ed Allen Frederick, Douglas High School head wrestling coach, Keaton Gannett, senior linebacker for Laurel High School. That's his team that he coaches, and then highly opinionated podcast host Josh, and highly opinionated is another cross show that has some guys on it that check in every now and then through Sideline Junkies, but they also have their own show and podcast on highly opinionated, which is a really good one too. I recommend that one too. So there we go. All right, so let's get to that one. That was kind of the not boring, but the less scoring of the two games. And then you had the fun one at night, and this one lived up to everything I was hoping it was going to be. Seattle wins 31-27. This game was back and forth. Sam Darnold finally gets the monkey off his back about performing in the big game, because he was fantastic in this game. 25 for 36, 346 yards and 3 touchdowns. Stafford equally as impressive. 22 for 35, 374 and 3 touchdowns. Apuka Nakua went 9 catches for 165 and the touchdown. Adams 4 catches, 89 yards and the touchdown. Kenneth Walker had 111 yards, which really pisses me off watching how well Kenneth Walker's ran these last 2 games, because Seattle didn't do this the whole regular season when he was on my fantasy team. Like, had to sit Kenneth Walker so many games because it's just they forgot that he existed. So now they remember that he exists. So but this game was back and forth. Really, the 2 key things here too was the big, the muff punt that Seattle got the 7 points from. And again, like, I know the Rams didn't have much time at the end, but they could have gone for the 3 when they could just kick the field goal. And yes, if Seattle scores a touchdown, but you're still only down 8. So again, they left 3 points on the board, and maybe with where they were, they could have tried a long field goal at the end, but they couldn't because they were down 4. Because again, another coach just gives away 3 points. So that would be my only criticism of McVay in that situation. But besides that, this game was just fun. It was a good one to end on for sure. So Scooter, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, that was fun, entertaining, went all the way. I love the games that go right down. Like, I enjoyed the New England Denver game, especially in that fourth quarter. But boy, that was a fun game to watch. Puka went all over the place. Those quarterbacks were going like crazy. And the fact of Sam Darnold finally getting it. He's seeing ghosts when he's with the Jets. It was just it's always a bad situation with the Jets, but he was able to rebuild his career. Had to deal with a few problems here and there, but the guy's going to a Super Bowl. He's got 2 straight 14-win seasons. If he wins this thing, wow, redemption.
Yep, and the first quarterback from that class to make it to a Super Bowl, not Lamar Jackson, not Josh Allen. It's impressive for sure. So, Sarah, did you get to watch any of this one?
I believe I watched some of the start. Ironically, my grandma was on the phone when it started, and then Seattle scored, and then I found out that my aunt is a Seahawks fan for some reason. That was a whole thing. But that's like the only part I really remember. I believe I watched it until the end of the first quarter, so it was still, I think it was like a respectable 7-3. But I mean, you can just kind of tell. I am kind of disappointed that LA got out, because that was my prediction. I thought it was going to be a rematch. Hopefully, a little bit more exciting than the last time, but it's fine. I enjoy watching Stafford play. I mean, he's a great quarterback. And seeing with Seattle how Oh my God, what's his name? Why is it dipping on me?
Darnold, the quarterback.
Yeah, sorry. Darnold, seeing Darnold, like I don't know much about how he plays, but I give my kudos to the Rams for sure. I don't know how this is gonna go for the Super Bowl though.
Well, speaking of said Super Bowl, let's give the big game breakdown because we're going to do ours this week because we are on next week, which there is the 2 weeks in between. But next Monday night, drive time is going to be coming to you in prime time at 8 o'clock because we're going to be doing our Olympic hockey special. Not only the Olympic hockeys, but I think we are going to go ahead. We're going to throw in a couple other sports too. It's going to be basically be a great Olympic preview because the Olympics are coming up just that following week too with the opening ceremonies, everything like that. So we're going to go ahead and give our predictions here this show. But the game is, of course, in Santa Clara, California, aka San Francisco. New England makes their 16th Super Bowl appearance. It's their first, though, since 2019. And for Seattle, they make their fourth appearance, the first since 2015. And of course, in that one was when they lost Super Bowl 49, when for whatever reason Pete Carroll would not run the ball with Marshawn Lynch down at the goal line and instead threw the ball, which was then, of course, intercepted. So here we are with this one. And so we'll start with you, Scott. I'll give it to you. Who do you like and why?
I like Seattle. They just seem to be a much stronger team, especially offensively. But I do see a good game. And don't ever count out the Patriots, especially in these kind of situations. But I mean, I see Seattle probably like 30-20, that range. And I think like NK, I'm trying to figure out who's going to be, is it going to be Smith and Jigba or is it going to be Darnold for the MVP? Because I think Smith and Jigba gets like 3 touchdown passes, and he could wind up with like 170 yards.
That's
I think
very
this
possible.
is where he makes his big mark. So,
Showtime, what do you got?
I think in my heart I would like New England to win, but in my gut, in my head, I think it's going to be Seattle. I mean, multiple people have said that it's Seattle's game to lose in the end. But I mean, the legacy of Drake May. I mean, the football rivalry goes on, but it is kind of nice seeing like at least players from local universities, like in your state, doing so good. I think it'd be good if Drake May could give UNC, that little, I guess, rep in a way. I mean, there is some NC State players. You got Drake Thomas on Seattle, and then there's 2 on New England. Their names aren't clicking on with me right now, but I mean, it's just nice to enjoy. So I'm rooting for New England, but I totally expect Seattle to win at the same time. I think I'd be happy either way.
I said going into the championship game, so I honestly thought that whoever won the Rams and Seattle game was going to win the Super Bowl. I thought that was the Super Bowl game, and that decision still stands for me. I actually don't think this is going to be close. New England went through Justin Herbert, C.J. Stroud, and Garrett Stidham to get here. So yes, New England's defense has played incredibly well against 3 mediocre to below average quarterbacks at best. Sam Darnold is not that. This offense is not anything like these offenses that they have faced. I do think that New England's defense, if they're going to win this game, it's going to be because of their defense. My concern too for New England's is their offensive line. Like Denver showed the key of how you beat New England. You get a lot of pressure on Drake May. And Denver is able to do that, and Seattle's defensive line is going to be able to do that as well. I honestly don't think this game is going to be close. I think it's got a potential of being one of those 42-14 type Super Bowls, unfortunately, unless Sam Darnold's and goes back to his pre-Sam Darnold self and throws 3 interceptions. Then maybe there's a chance for New England to make this a game. But if Sam Darnold plays like he did last night, that this thing is going to be over quickly. I have a funny feeling. So there we have it.
Close?
I don't think it's going to be close. I think Seattle's just going to, unless New England's defense keeps them in it by getting a couple turnovers, that's the only way this game stays close. But if Seattle can play like they did last night and not turn the ball over, I think Seattle's defense is way better than New England's offense, and I think Seattle's offense is better than New England's defense. So,
I
but
can
we'll
see
see.
it being close in the first half, but then maybe Seattle gets away with it in the second half.
And that could happen. We'll see. I don't know. I really,
don't
the way Seattle's playing right now just is really, really good to me. But so is New England. I mean, that defense, I can't take anything away from New England's defense. When you're only giving up a touchdown a game through 3 games, that's still saying something. So,
Oh yeah.
So, all right. So there we have that part. So real quickly, let's get into some of the coaching moves because we did have 2 more coach spots get taken up. We had Jesse Minter go to Baltimore. For those that don't know who he is, he was the defensive coordinator for the Chargers. This is just the 4th head coach in Ravens history. This is his first time as a head coach. Before this, he's basically been with Harbaugh the last few years. He was their defensive coordinator also in Michigan when Harbaugh was there. But before that, he was an assistant for Baltimore. So he does have familiarity with Baltimore already, which I think probably played a big part in this hire. But Jesse Minter is to Baltimore. Scooter, what are your thoughts on it?
So it's funny. We just talked about Seattle with Mike McDonald, their coach.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny because he was the old DC in Baltimore, and he's a really good defensive coordinator. So Jesse Minter actually coached with him in Baltimore. And in fact, when McDonald got promoted up to being a position coach, the guy who took his place was Jesse Minter to become a defense backs assistant. And so it's funny how that progressed. But Minter's a very good coach. He comes from a family of coaches. I mean, never mind Harbaugh's family of coaches, and he has just done Harbaugh's stuff. So, and he is a fiery guy. So he is a perfect head coach for Baltimore. What they need, defense, that kind of thing, they're going to bring that back.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's all true for sure. Is there any thoughts on Minter going to Baltimore?
I personally think this is a great hire for them. I'm still kind of shocked that Harbaugh got fired in the first place. I mean, in my opinion, I feel like it was one bad season, but I guess having one bad season, that's it for them. I mean, Minter's gonna have Jackson and Henry to use. I think it's gonna be some pretty good assets. So I can see this being a benefit for them.
Okay. I like it. And then this was the fun one because this news broke when I was getting ready to drive home from hockey on Saturday, and I couldn't wait to see Jared's reaction to the news that his beloved Pittsburgh Steelers had hired Mike McCarthy, and it went just about as I thought that it would. It was fantastic for me. I don't know. I'm a little bit shocked by this one just because it's not the typical coach that Pittsburgh brings in, but at the same time, he is a Pittsburgh native guy. Does this help or hurt them keep Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. Does this change anything in Pittsburgh? I don't know. But he has also worked with this GM before, so I get it kind of. It still kind of surprised me, but here's Mike McCarthy getting his 3rd shot and his prior 2 were with a couple of the historic franchises with Green Bay and Dallas, and now he gets the Pittsburgh Steelers. I guess the only thing I probably can say, I don't think he's going to be coaching for 17, 18 years like all of his predecessors did because he's already 62. So I don't think he's going to quite have the term that his other guys did. But Scooter, what are your thoughts on McCarthy going to Pittsburgh?
So it's interesting because there's a reason why I'm putting it this way. From the TV show The Office, there's a scene where Pam has to look at 2 pictures of an office building, and she says they're the same picture. So you have both of the mics here, and you go, they're the same picture. Okay, one's offense, one's defense. They both Tomlin and McCarthy have not been to the Super Bowl since 2011, and that was the Super Bowl they coached against each other.
Right.
And
yep.
I think in that time period, McCarthy has like 2 more playoff victories than Tomlin does in that time frame. Maybe I may be wrong by 1 game, but I mean, all in all, it's not a horrible hire because you're going to bring in McCarthy, he's bringing in professionalism in there. He has successful background, obviously. So if you're a Pittsburgh fan, you can't be scared. They really didn't rock the boat any. Maybe they should rock the boat a little bit more, but at least their offense is going to be exciting, I would think. And McCarthy has known to have some good defensive coordinators, so we'll see what he brings in down there. But I know it's not going to last that long. But the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, I don't know what Pittsburgh's still doing with that, but I guess. I don't. Yeah, it's weird because McCarthy and Rodgers together, but I mean, I don't know. Rodgers is just a little old now.
I like it. That's a perfect one too. So Showtime, what do you got on it?
This is something Pittsburgh would do, if I'm being honest. They have all these great options to choose from, and this happens. I'm trying to remember because I think they were interviewing other people. What it was like Chris Shula with the
Mm-hmm.
Rams and then somebody else. I can't remember the name, but like I think anything would have been better than this. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what to think on this one. I'm just gonna have to be proven wrong or right that this is just gonna give them the same results.
I think it has potential to turn to this. A 100% gong show, and I'm there for it. I hope it does. So.
Right.
All right, there's the hire. So that leaves 4 vacancies left: Buffalo, Vegas, Cleveland, and Arizona. It seems that Buffalo's going to be going for Grant Udinski. That seems to be the guy that they are really wanting. Cleveland, Udinski has withdrew himself from the Cleveland hire, which, oh, by the way, that's now the 3rd coach that has withdrawn from the Cleveland thanks, but no thanks, between Josh McDaniel, who took the OC job for the Chargers, and then the mentor did too, because he got the job obviously at Baltimore. And that kind of leads me to believe that I think that's where Buffalo's going. Vegas has interviewed Joe Brady twice, previous OC for Buffalo, and they've interviewed Davis Webb. There's his second interview. That's the quarterback's coach from Denver. Cleveland seems to now be focusing their attention on Nate Shelsey from the Rams. It sounds like that seems to be someone that they're at least going to be able to bring in. And then the funny part is, I've not heard anybody say that they're going to interview for Arizona. I've not seen one single clipping of anybody that's interviewed for the Arizona job. So clearly it seems like the Arizona job is the one that nobody wants at all. But yeah, that's what we have left on the table here. Scott, anything that you've heard or want to comment on these 4?
Well, the Arizona thing. So there's Mike LaFleur, offensive coordinator for the Rams. Anthony was it Campanile is his name, I think. He's the defensive guy. That he's young. He's a defensive guy with the Jags. He's really good. So you're speaking of Buffalo. And then there's Raheem Morris. So those are 3 guys who I've heard that there's something going on there. But yeah, what's it? Joe Brady. That's a good. He would be like, if I was Buffalo, I might want to bring him in, but he would be good at Vegas. Like Brady brings in Brady down in Vegas. I kind of like that.
I would not be upset if that ends up being the Raiders coach, if it's Joe Brady, because I think they need an offensive thought process that's way better than what they have, because they do have some weapons on offense. It's just, especially because you're going to, oh, by the way, you're going to have Mendoza if you want him, or, whatever, if they pull off a deal, then they pull off a deal. We'll see, but that'll be a subject for a different day.
Yeah. And then Cleveland, they're going to have a head coach. Kind of like when Jim Zorn became the head coach of the Washington Redskins. You're going to get a head coach. You may not like it, but you're going to get one. However, I think the one name, and I'm glad that Showtime actually brought him up with the first name mentioned, is Chris Shula. That's a name. There's a guy he's got a little coaching pedigree in his system, and he is not afraid. He's a defensive guy. I mean, he's young, and we've heard of there is a former Shula out there in the past that really was a great coach when he was young as well. So something we'll think about.
I agree. Sarah, any thoughts on any of these?
Not really. I mean, once Vegas does choose who to hire, I'll obviously do some research on it, because I mean that's the team you kind of put upon me. Carolina's not firing their coach, so I'm okay with that. I'm not shocked that nobody really wants to go to Cleveland. I am kind of shocked that nobody really wants to go to Arizona. I know they obviously aren't great, but I still think they do. Like, I think that they're just pieces of the puzzle, and I don't know. Like, I think they'll be able to make it work. Just obviously just depends on who really ends up going there. It might just be like you get picked last kind of thing, like in a team, but it's whatever.
I agree. Whatever sounds good to me. So, all right, that's all the pro side. So, real quick, let's hit a little bit on the college side. There's a little bit I mean, obviously, the game happened last Monday. Indiana beat Miami. The guys on the network have done a phenomenal job of covering the game. So, I don't want to spend too much time on the game itself, other than it was closer than maybe I think a few have thought that it was going to be. Which I really wasn't that surprised. Miami's defense came to show up, and the only thing, as a Raiders fan, the only part that kind of had brought up a little bit of concern for me on this game was, okay, it does go to show that as great as your quarterback thinks it is, once you start getting some faces in the quarterback's face, he can look normal. And Mendoza looked a little bit normal in this game. So tip of the hat to the Miami defense, but Indiana does get the job done. They run the perfect season, and that storybook is complete. So Scott, any thoughts on the game at all before we get into what college football is doing for next year?
Well, Mendoza didn't look like the greatest ever, but who made the game?
He did.
He did. So, and he won the game. They won the game. So that's all you could. You play to win the game. So play to win the game, and that's a national champion. There was no other games after that. You win that one, you're the greatest. So all they had to do, and they did it. Go. Kudos to Miami. To you, God bless them. They almost pulled the upset. That would have been amazing. But Indiana, one heck of a team, and we'll see what they do next year.
I agree. I think they'll be right up there. And I think in the preseasons, most of them, I think I've seen Miami in the top 4, Indiana's like around 5 or 6. So we'll see how that all plays out. So, Sarah, any thoughts on the game itself before we get into the changes for next year?
Obviously, I have to take back my word because I thought it was going to be a complete blowout. I said that very clearly for 2 weeks. But I mean, Indiana still pulled it off. Congratulations, Fernando Mendoza. You are now a Las Vegas Raider. Thoughts and prayers. You're going to need them. He's always so smiley, and I think once he enters Vegas, you're just gonna see his mood slowly shift. Like he's always gonna be like, he's always God bless, God bless. He's gonna have to start praying a little bit more, I think. But
my favorite Twitter person, Annie Agar, who does her things when she had the stuff about the Raiders and Mendoza going there talking about that it's going to be the second one that they ruined since Indiana Jones, and then also her comments about firing a coach and a quarterback that can't play. And it's like, that's just what we call Tuesday in Vegas. Like I was rolling. She had that going so good. So slight sidetrack there. So all right, so here we go. So let's get into this here. So they have just made some announcements for next year. The first big one is it is staying at 12. ESPN had given them a deadline of last Friday. The Big Ten wanted 24 teams, which is ridiculous to me. The SEC wanted 16. They could not come up to an agreement, so it sticks at 12 teams. So that's the first big bit of news. Then, of course, there are still the 5 conference champions, but the ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, and the SEC champs are all guaranteed spots. And then the top seed of the group of 6 will get the 5th automatic bid. So they all still kind of take in. You also now have the Notre Dame rule that will go into effect, that if they are in the top 12 of the final standings, that they are then guaranteed a spot. And the last little bit of fun is we go back to the 4 highest ranked conference champions all get the bye. So if this would have been in place for this year, Miami would have been out, Notre Dame would have been in, JMU would have been out, and Duke would have been in. Not only that, Duke would have been a number 4 seed because they were slightly higher than Tulane, and that would have meant that Ohio State would have been a 5 seed going into this thing, which is just ridiculous. I hate that they're going back to the conference champions get the byes, and I hate that they're going back to this where it has to be where the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC are guaranteed a spot. Really, I hate all these. They all suck. That's my bottom line figure on this. So, Scooter, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, first, I mean, when it comes to the 5 conference champions, I mean, it should have been that the ACC obviously should have had their champion go in, but that wasn't the rule. So for the ACC, anyways. But then you get to the Notre Dame rule. Is that also called the UConn rule? Because what happens if UConn, they end the regular season and they get in? They're independent. They're the only other independent team, and they're the 11th ranked team in the country. And Notre Dame's the 12th ranked team in the country. Does that mean both of those teams get to go to the playoffs? Because if Notre Dame gets the exemption, why shouldn't the only other independent school, which would be UConn? And so, with all these rules coming up, it should be definitely interesting. Can't wait for 11 months from now.
Sarah, what are your thoughts on it?
Notre Dame fans complained for weeks about this, and now they got what they want. But why are we giving them these little bonus, being like, oh yeah, we'll put you in if you make this? But it's just like next year, my rankings, Notre Dame will always be at 13. I'm saying that now. I don't care if they're 12-0. I'm putting them at 13 just to spite them. Like, I love Notre Dame. Don't get me wrong, but this rule is stupid. And like Scooter said, what about UConn? Like, what even happened? Like, it just doesn't. Now, I will say, like, the 5 conference champions, that makes sense. I mean, obviously, I said it earlier, like, I would have loved to see Duke in, but I get why Miami made it. And, hey, they even made it to the freaking, the championship. So the fact that with this rule that they would have been out is just completely crazy to mention. 12 teams to buy, it's still going to be messy. Like, it doesn't help at all. And I don't think – I haven't seen any, like, a single person say this is a good rule. I don't even know if I've seen a Notre Dame fan say that this is a good rule, but maybe I just kind of ignored it because I don't want to even start.
Midnight Rider and KG will be all in on this because here's Notre Dame's going to be in the playoff next year because in case you haven't seen Notre Dame's schedule next year, they play Wisconsin, Rice, Michigan State, Purdue, North Carolina, Stanford, BYU, Navy, Miami of Florida, Boston College, SMU, and Syracuse. They're going to be in the top 12.
Okay, but people thought that last year. People thought that last year with their schedule, and their schedule was probably worse than that, and they didn't do that.
Wisconsin is trash. BYU might be a tough game.
They're going to beat North Carolina, I can tell you that.
It's just, but realistically, it's BYU and Miami of Florida. Those are maybe the 2 games I'd be like, okay, maybe they could lose those games. And they do go to BYU, so we'll see. But I doubt. I don't know. We'll see.
SMU is questionable. Sometimes they're good at the start of the season, and then they die.
It's definitely a favorable schedule for sure. I hear you, Anthony checking in. Good afternoon, Anthony. You just got your props from that. Okay, I knew he'd have a good comment. This one, this pisses me off. Notre Dame can get away with that.
You missed it. You missed my part.
Forcing their way into playoffs because they have a weak schedule. Yep. Yeah. We're with you, Anthony. Well, I should say this. At least Showtime and I are with you. I don't want to throw Scooter in that bus. I don't know if he's fully on board with the hate for Notre Dame about this rule, but Scooter, are you on board with us, or are you okay with that rule?
I just think it's ridiculous that UConn is not exempt.
Right.
Like, there's only 2 teams. And what are the odds that UConn is going to be ranked in the top 12? So just do it.
Right.
Like, okay.
I need to hear Uncle Tom's opinion on this. I need to.
Then they're afraid there will be more teams that want to go independent. And it's like, well, we deserve our spot too. Then, okay. Yeah. But, if it's only 2 teams, why don't you just allow UConn to be a part of that fun?
Yep. All right. So it's time. Well, let's leave all the football stuff behind here. It is time to get into a new segment, and then we're going to call it Around the Track. Like that, huh? See, you got your own segment title and everything, Scooter. How about that? Didn't even know that was coming, did you? So there were some changes for NASCAR. So I'm going to turn this over to Scooter, and you give us the changes to NASCAR and what you think that's going to mean for this coming season. And then, Sarah, you can throw in some comments on because I know you watch some NASCAR too, and I will just sit here and listen.
So just to go like real brief history, like in the Dale Earnhardt days, they would get series points, and there was no playoffs. They would build up these points through the regular season until it ended, and then at the end of the race, you could win the whole thing before the last race. Then they wanted to change it up, and they made something called the Chase, which was kind of cool. It was that 12 teams, or I think it's 16 now, but 12 teams would get in. 12 racers would get into the 10 playoff races, and then they pick up points through that period. And at the final race, every race car can still be that are in the top 12 or the top 16 could still win the championship. Well, then they changed it to a playoff format where every few races racers get knocked out. So it'll go from like 16 to 12 after 2 races, and from 12 to 8 after another 2 races, till you finally get your final 4 of the last 2 races. And people just thought that was too much. You're taking away from like good racing. You're giving, you're just allowing too many non-decent racers to get in there. There's a few other things too, as they used to in the regular season just last year. If you won a race in the regular season, you automatically make the playoffs. So you can have 16 cars and 17 cars and 18 cars. So there are these guys winning yellow flag races because there's a big wreck and all the guys in 23rd, all of a sudden he's in first and he wins the race. He's in the playoffs. He probably didn't deserve to make the playoffs, but you won a race. Cool. Good for you. But now this is the championship race. The championship playoff time, it's going to be 10 races. The one who's in first place going into the playoffs gets a 25-point edge on everybody. Then it goes like -2, -4, -8 to build up to that 25. But from that point, it's just all on point races. But if you do win a race, you get more points, and that's the regular season also. So it's different. The funny thing is, Kyle Larson won the whole series last year, won the playoffs, did the whole thing. And if they went to the point systems that they just changed to, Kyle Larson would still have won. So there is that kind of aspect to it too. But it does make it a little more interesting.
All right. So overall, do you like it, the changes, or wait and see?
No, I like it. I like it because I like the chase format back in the day. And instead of like, 4 guys get knocked out, like a good racer could get knocked out in the first round, if you will, because he had a bad, he wrecked and he finished last.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because that could happen. You finish last, you're done.
Yeah, then you'd be cooked. Sarah, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I like it. It makes sense. It's a fair style. And I mean, of course, with how last season turned out, I mean, it was devastating for Hamlin. He played great the entire career, but I mean, obviously he was just this close. So I mean, it's different. It's going to be interesting to try out. But I'm excited for it for sure. I think Denny Hamlin said that he would be okay for the season. I think he obviously with dealing with his father's death, but he's doing okay. I think he said he'd be performing for the clash that they have going on in Los Angeles. Right. Or was it I can't remember.
And make no mistake, this was contentious too, because you had former drivers like Mark Martin just big time ripping what they did. Like, oh no, they shouldn't be getting knocked out, and we should go back to a better way. And so he thinks this is a great move. Also, hated the old format, loves this new chase format. So it's a lot. There's much more positivity than negativity.
All right. I take your guys' word for it. It's not my expertise. A few comments on it. The correspondent checking in. Thanks for checking in. Correspondent was on with the guys yesterday. He's on all over the place. He comes in and jumps in on shows, but he's always good. I love him. He says, I like going back to the chase. There was one funny comment that I do have to read that Chuck put in here. They turned left for a few hours. That's kind of how I feel about NASCAR, but I know that there are people out there that love it. So I try to cover everyone, but I do think that was pretty funny. Correspondent also says can't have a driver already qualify for the next round with multiple races left, almost nothing to race for, and terrible for the fans. Yeah. And Anthony checked in with this. What I wish NASCAR did is to mix up the old Winston Cup format with the chase format. So he's kind of looking for a little bit of both. And then he did have a question.
You kind of have a little bit of that.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of that. So it's like this is the best way that they can come up with doing that.
And then he did have a question in here for you, and I don't know this. Do you have an update on the lawsuit that was happening with the drivers and the family who owns NASCAR?
Was that it? That's the Michael Jordan one where it was Jordan Raceway. Yeah. Okay. So it was Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. It was a
settled, didn't it? Yeah.
There was a settlement. But make no mistake, NASCAR, if you will, lost. Michael Jordan, then Denny Hamlin, and I think it was I forgot the other race team. But it was those two guys won. Make no mistake about it. It really opened it up for free agency. There's a big contention about like, oh, you had to have all your racers. There's a lot of stuff going on that certain race teams such as Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin's team felt that it was hurting the business in general. And so
wasn't it Bubba Wallace too, or no? Is it Bubba
well,
Wallace?
he races for them.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't in the lawsuit, but he races for 2311.
Okay. I don't remember if he was a part of.
Yeah. He wasn't officially part of it, but that's Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin 2311 is their race team.
Right.
And then he did have this one back to football. If Ohio State was independent, do you think they would be able to get away with what Notre Dame has consistently doing a weak schedule? And they finished off with 2 or 3, maybe 4 good points. I mean, look, some of Ohio State's schedule is dictated by the fact that it's conference play, and the conference decides which conference teams you play. I don't think Ohio State has too much power in the Big Ten, so it really is kind of a moot point. They're never going to go an independent route unless something just as long as the Big Ten and the SEC have as much power as they're going to have, they're never going to be an independent. That's just my thoughts on it as an Ohio State follower. That's not a really concern. If they did ever go independent, I think they'd play a lot more tougher teams than what probably the Big Ten allows them to play. They've never backed away from playing anybody. It's just, Penn State was on their schedule this year. Who knew Penn State was going to suck? Sometimes those things happen when going into the season, everyone's like Ohio State, Penn State, that's going to be the game of the century, and then Penn State turned into shit. So sometimes that happens. So, but Ohio State's playing Texas again next year. So I mean, they try to schedule one. Now, look, these teams are always going to schedule cupcakes for at home. And as a mid-major person, mid-majors seek these games out because they get paid. Like when Kent State goes to Kent State next year, which I will be in Columbus for that game, Kent State is probably going to make about $1.5 million in that game. That funds the entire Kent State athletic program. So these mid-majors need those games still too, because they fund a lot of the other stuff that goes on at these universities. And if they don't get those paydays anymore, because everyone wants to see these big schools play nothing but big schools, you will have no mid-major athletics left, because they won't have any money to play. So that's my thoughts on all that. Kind of off subject.
True.
So
good, 100%. You should have said that.
Okay. All right. So let's get back on track here. See, on track, around the track. We're doing all kinds of track stuff today. So some baseball stuff. I did want to talk a little bit quickly about the Nats trade. They trade away Mackenzie Gore to Texas for 5 prospects: Gavin Fine, Alejandro Rosario, Devin Fitzgerald, Yeremy Cabrera, and Albimek Ortiz. These guys all move up into the Nats prospect systems, has their 5th, 11th, 12th, 17th, and 24th prospects. Gore he's a left-handed starter. He was an all-star last year, but did struggle at the end, and he ends up right around his career ERA of 4.17. I know this went around in our comments section a lot, but Scooter, you're a Nats fan. I kind of root for the Nats as my favorite NL team, but I'll let you go first on your thoughts on the trade.
Well, I thought it was a great trade. I mean, it was good for both teams, but it was really great for the Nats as well, because they really have to refill that their minor league farm system. They got to get guys in there. And I mean, Mackenzie Gore, he's a great piece to trade if you're going to have a Mackenzie. I mean, he's not this great player. He's a good pitcher, and he's a left-handed pitcher, as you said. And there's something to that. And he's good. He is going to be 28 in the upcoming as next contract in a few years, which makes him right around that average, younger to average age of baseball, anyways, for starting pitchers. So now's the time. The Nats. I mean, they're not going anywhere this year. They weren't going anywhere this year with Gore. Now they're not going anywhere this year without Gore. So that's okay. And they did replenish that farm set. They have a bunch of shortstops. This Fine, he's good. He's fine. And he'll probably play third base at one point because he's like 6'4", something like that. He's 6'3". He's a tall guy. So it's just really good. And so they brought in 5 guys. There's a left-hander in there there's a pitcher in there who had Tommy John surgery, who was really up there doing well in the minors until he tore it. And then they have another outfielder who can hit the ball long. So
I think you talked me into this trade, because at first I really didn't like it, but I think you kind of talked me, because I do get your points on it. I do think maybe they may regret, only because I do think, look, you still got a young left-hander starter who maybe still hasn't quite figured everything out. And I think I think he's always gotten off to these good starts and he's faded down the end. Now, some of that too could be the team that's with him maybe makes it harder, and he's going to have a much better, stuff around him to work with. So we'll see how it goes. But I do like the prospects, and I really didn't think I realized how bleak the Nats farm system was. And so you're adding 5 pieces to that farm system. So you talked me into this being a better trade for the Nats than I first thought. So
I mean, the past few years they've been consistently like 24 to 27th worst or best farm league in the major leagues. So
okay, Sarah, you got anything on this one?
Sorry, I'm super tired. I had a weird dream last night. Well, that's a different story. I mean, I didn't really know much about this trade, nor about the Nats. I mean, I know they didn't do great, obviously, last year. So I'm hoping the best for them.
Nothing but best wishes. So now let's get into the fun. Midnight Rider got into this a little bit last week. The contracts that came out, and I was going to bring this up last Monday, but I knew our show was going to be just too packed to be able to really get into this at all. Kyle Tucker goes to LA for $60 million a season. Some of that is deferred money. Kyle Tucker just is not a $40 million a year player. Let's just leave it at that. The Dodgers also signed closer Edwin Diaz away from the Mets for a boatload of money. And then you also have, of course, then the Bo Bichette contract where he goes to the Mets. Now, Bo at least is a 311 batter, but he still probably isn't worth 3 years and $126 million. So you have these deals, and then you have the Bellinger deal. You throw in the fact that you now have 8 teams that, thanks to FanDuel / Bally Sports / whatever it's called before, still having financial troubles, is now back under major league control for their TV rights. You have the fact that LA, when they were struggling, got this amazing deal where they could keep more of their tax money from the TV deal. So now instead they're still getting taxed because they signed this deal through 2039. They're basically keeping $60 million more than what they should be allowed to keep on their huge TV deal. And you have these deferred contracts, which, basically I think the LA Dodgers now have as much salary as the entire AL Central. The contract is up after 2026, folks. What I am feeling and what my son is feeling and what Ben has kind of thought along the lines too is enjoy the 26 baseball season, because I'm not very optimistic that we're going to see a 2027 baseball season. The writing to me is just on the wall. There's enough fan outrage about these type of contracts that the Dodgers and stuff are signing. I think that the support has kind of gone away from the players, more towards the owners about the need for a salary cap. The bottom line is you see a salary cap work in every other sport, and you can have a cap floor to make teams like the Pirates and look, the Guardians are consistently at the bottom of the payroll. But I will get this for the Guardians. They do their work and they do still put product on the field that is competitive. But something has to happen, and I think it's going to take a work stoppage for it to happen. So, Scott, I'll turn it over to you. What are your thoughts on all of this fun with baseball and what it means for the future of the sport?
Well, to get to the contracts part of those players, I mean, everyone is nobody's worth their contract. But that's how the Major League Baseball contracts work right now.
I'll give you one example of a player that is, because Jose Ramirez just signed his 7-year deal, and it's actually a pretty favorable deal, but that's a whole other story. All right, you go on again.
I mean, there are some of those players that outperform, or they're given these crazy contracts. Like, okay, well, like it's, he's awesome. But like Kyle Tucker, I mean, I know his batting average is around 270. And he hits around 25 home runs. But here's the thing, too. He's a 4-time All-Star. He has a Gold Glove to his name, so he can play defense in right field. And he's also a 2-time Silver Slugger as a right fielder, which means that the managers and coaches in his league are voting him in as the best offensive producer as a right fielder for 2 different seasons. So there's something to be said about that. And never mind the fact that he's been averaging about 25 stolen bases a season over the past 4 seasons. And I mean, he's a good player. And if you got the money, you'll probably overpay him if you're the Dodgers to bring him into your team to hopefully win a championship again for them. Anyways, and the other guys, it's the Mets. They're gonna dish out a little more money than the average team would. But I mean, we'll see. When it comes to the second part, we'll see. It probably is going to be one of those big, like when they make another baseball Ken Burns style documentary. This will be a big part of one of the innings, if you will, if you remember those. So
yes, I do.
I think it could be an extended work stoppage. So yes, 2026. They got to figure something out, because I mean, things are working in the NFL. They have salary caps, and they do it in the other sports too. So salary cap things work, but don't be fooled that like, oh, Pittsburgh can't afford it. Pittsburgh can afford it if they want to afford it. Pittsburgh just they choose not to afford it. Whoever the owner is, I forget the owner's name. But
we said that about the Guardians for a long time, that they could afford to spend more money on the players that they wanted to, but they don't. Other than Jose, they'll give Jose the money, which I'm okay with, But that's a whole other story there. So Sarah, any thoughts on this?
This just like pains me, because I do believe that there won't be baseball after this season. I don't like the Los Angeles Dodgers just because of how good they've been, but don't you worry, nothing beats my hate for the New York Yankees. If this was the Yankees, I'd be going on a complete rant right now, just done, throw in the towel. But no, I mean, goodbye baseball. And if you want somebody to blame the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's like the Alabama of the college football playoffs. It's like, oh my God, what's another good one I can use for public sports? You get the point, though. Just it's not good, and a lot of people are upset about it. So, yeah, enjoy this season. I think the season next, a lot of teams have just released the regular season. So,
yep, it could be bad. That's my thought on it too. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but I'm gonna enjoy my Friday nights this year at the corner of Carnegie in Ontario, because who knows when the next ones will be after that. So we'll hope for the best and see what happens with that.
2028 MLB Raleigh coming in. Trust me. I'm still going on about that.
Let's see. I still think that, I think they have a shot whenever they decide to do that. So all right, let's keep rolling here, because we're going on an hour already. Quick little crash the net, another new for if we do hit some tennis, which we are in the middle of the Aussie Open. We have 4 U.S. ladies into the quarterfinals. Coco Gauff, Jessica Pegula, Amanda Anisimova, and Eva Djokovic. We are guaranteed 1 U.S. lady to be in the semis, because Pegula and Anisimova play against each other later this week. So we have 4 U.S. ladies in there. The men's side, we do have 2 in the quarters, Blake Sheldon and Lerner Tien. They've got some tough matchups, though, so we'll see how far they get. Tien's got to play Alexander Surev tonight. He's the 3 seed, and then Blake Sheldon goes against the number 2 seed, Yannick Skinner. So we'll see if either one of them can pull off the upset to get into the semis. Of course, Novak Djokovic is also still in the quarterfinals, and so it's the number 1 seed, Carlos Alcaraz. So on the men's side, it's been pretty heavy as far as for chalk. On the women's side, we have had some upsets. Pegula upset Madison Keys, who won it last year, to get into the quarters. So it's been a decent showing for the U.S. so far, but I'm not confident that Blake Sheldon or Lerner Tien is going to end the curse on the men's side for sure. But I do think that one of these 4 on the ladies' side has a chance to bring home another Australian Open Championship. Scooter, any thoughts on either of them?
Well, Jessica Pegula's had a better week than her dad has had. That's for sure.
That's true. Yep.
But yeah, it's good to see the Americans finally getting back. I mean, the women, we've always had the Williamses, but it's really good to see 3 out of 4. Hopefully we can, as American tennis players, women in this case, can sweep them all.
There you go.
Sweep the majors.
Anything for it, Sarah?
I just keep thinking that Blake Shelton is the singer.
It's not that. No. All right, that takes care of some tennis talk. Now let's real quick because we are getting basically we have about 10 days until we hit the Olympic break on the NHL side. And speaking of the Olympics, of course, we'll talk more about our show coming up next week, which we will break down the Olympic hockey very well next week. I promise you that. So let's take a real quick look at the East, and this kind of got me into the little part. You're starting to see some separation, especially in the Metro. The Carolina Hurricanes are 6 points ahead of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh does have a game in hand. They're 10 points clear now at the third spot. The Atlantic is still 1 and 2. It's Detroit and Tampa. And then you got the fun. You got the third seed in the Atlantic right now, which is Buffalo. You have Montreal also at 63 points. Boston at 62 points. Florida hanging around. They've come back a little bit this week. They're at 59 points. You have the Flyers, Toronto, and Washington at 57 points. So my question that I've been having fun leading into this, Scooter, are your Washington Capitals cooked, or do you think they've got a shot to still stay in this thing?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think they're cooked yet. Thank goodness they have a long break coming up in 10 days or so, because they really need it. They've only won 3 games past 10. They got a tie in there. I love ties. Overtime loss. I call them ties.
Right.
But yeah, so it's kind of rough. But they're still, of all the teams that are underneath that are not in the playoffs, the Caps have a plus 11 on goal differential. They're the only team that's in the pluses of all the teams that are not in the playoffs right now. So I still look at that as a positive, but that can keep the creep. It was plus 15. So now it's plus 11. And then you got teams like Florida that are just ready to, jump up there. So, but I think the Rangers are officially the only ones that are out.
Yeah, seeing the Rangers with only 48 points is a beautiful sight. That's for sure. I'm enjoying every second of that. So
don't you worry, they're going to make their moves.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, it looks like Panarin's going to be gone, and which we talked about that last week, and Vinny's going to be going somewhere. So it's just a question of what do they get for him. So, any thoughts on the Eastern Conference standings there, Sarah?
I remember looking at this I can't remember, it was probably like a week ago by now, but the Metro Division wasn't as close as it was now. Obviously, you have Carolina on top with 69, nice, and then you have Pittsburgh. It's only 6 points behind, so it's only 3 games behind. But I mean, I would still say Carolina's got a comfortable lead, unless Pittsburgh goes on a win streak, we go on a lose streak, etc. And then just the Metro with New York at 59. It's only 4 points behind, but it's not. It's just a little separated. And then of course Philly and Washington are both right there at 57. But it was basically, you could see basically the top 3 being locked in: Carolina, Pittsburgh, New York, and then everybody else was way a little bit more behind. But I don't know. I'm not really sure. Seeing Buffalo in is already a little weird. I would say Tampa and Detroit are just kind of hashing it out, and there's Buffalo just being like, I'm just happy to be here. So it's a very confusing sight for sure. The wild card, that's just the Atlantic at this point. I don't really see a Metro team getting in there other than
they're 5 back.
So I think the wild card is the Atlantics to win. But the Atlantic is I think just the Atlantic is way more close than the Metro. The Metro, you obviously know who your good teams are, what your mid teams are, than what your bad teams are. So I mean, it's definitely a little separated in the Metro, but I mean, I'm sure it could still shift around. There's still time.
What's crazy to me is, remember, when we started doing these standings, about 2 weeks into season, New Jersey was on fire to start this year, and they have completely fallen apart, which is very surprising to me. I'm not sure what's going on there. They should be better than what they are. It's kind of baffling to me. Columbus has kind of creeped back up there. I think a lot of us had Columbus as a sleeper playoff team, and they're getting there where you almost got to start talking about them again. I mean, they're only 4 points behind the Islanders for that third spot in the Metro. So yes, the spots that are going to be fun are the third spot in the Metro, because you got a lot of teams still close for that. And then you got that third Atlantic spot and the 2 wild cards. And I kind of agree with you, Sarah. I think it's going to be the Atlantic there too, because the fun thing with all this, with all these guys being so close together, it's just like you see these teams going through, like Philly. They were in second place like 2 weeks ago when we did this, and now they've gone on one of these losing streaks, and now they're out. Like it's just, you cannot afford a 4 or 5 game losing streak at all. And I think that's the one thing the Canes have somehow been able to avoid. They've avoided the long losing streak. Like they've lost a couple in a row, and then they'll get a point or two maybe, but then they go on a decent heater again where they win a few in a row. So they've avoided that long-term losing streak, just like Detroit and Tampa got off to a slower start, but now they were on fire there, where they had won like 11 in a row there for a little bit in point time. So, and I think Florida's just still waiting there, and now they got Kachuk back. I think Florida's going to we're going to see Florida make a move unless Bobrovsky just can't find it, and he's been a little off so far this year. So we'll see how that all goes. So anything else on the East, guys, before we take a look at the West?
No, let's go. Let's head west.
Head west. So we're not really seeing much change out here. It's still Colorado and everybody else's game. Minnesota and Dallas has kind of started to fall back a little bit to the pack, but not really. I think your top 3 in the Central really aren't going to see much change at all. Utah's hanging around, but they're still 9 points away from Dallas. So they've got a lot of room to go. The fun in this is going to be still in the Pacific, because right now you have Vegas in first, you have Edmonton in second, and Anaheim is back in third again at 59. That's 3-point separation there. San Jose is sitting right there at 55, LA at 55, Seattle at 55. So of those 5 teams, it's going to be 3 are going to get in, and maybe another one is a wild card. It's fun right now kind of seeing Utah as being the team that's going to get in there. Nashville hanging around at 52 points. Chicago, Calgary, and the Winnipeg and St. Louis still kind of in the mix. But the bottom part, the hard part is when you're down at 12 or 13, there's just so many teams you got to jump above, and that means that you've got to play great hockey, and you need a lot of teams to either play mediocre hockey or crappy hockey to jump all these teams. But I think it'd be fun if Utah and Seattle Utah, Seattle, and San Jose, if those teams can figure out a way to get in it, especially San Jose. Celebrini is just a fun kid to watch. That's not a team I'd want to play in the playoffs. But again, what does suck with this Western Conference is by the time you get to the conference finals, 2 of the 3 teams between Colorado, Minnesota, and Dallas will be out, because 2 of them are going to play each other in the first round, and then whoever wins that one is likely going to play Colorado in round 2, which means that only one of them is going to make it to the conference final, which sucks. But I get it. They're trying to get these rivalries installed, but it still sucks that only one of them is going to make it to the conference final. So, Scott, what do you got?
Well, all I noticed is we were talking about the Caps earlier, and the Caps are on their West Coast trip right now, and they are 2-1-1 right now, and they've lost to Colorado, they've lost to Vancouver, they lost to Edmonton, overtime loss, and they beat Calgary. They play Seattle tomorrow, and then they finish up in Detroit, going back into the East. But it's a slog fest out there. The teams just, I don't even know if teams are scoring goals anymore out there, because it's just like they're just not that good right now.
Yeah,
a lot of those teams, like some are amazing, and then there's just the rest of them.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. You got the 3 really good teams, and you got everybody else. But I guess you kind of have that a little bit in the East too, where you got these top heavy teams, and then you got a good group of middle teams. But really same thing here, other than Vancouver. Everyone probably thinks that they at least still got a shot at it. But some of these teams, I think you have to look at too. If you're the number 8 team and you're going to draw Colorado in the first round, yeah, you might make the playoffs. But are you beating Colorado? I don't think so, because I watched a good bit of that Colorado Washington game, and damn, Colorado just right. They're just a different level right now of where they're at.
Yeah.
Sarah, what you got?
Everybody knows in the playoffs, nothing really kind of happens how the standings are. You can get a bunch of upsets. Something doesn't go the way, but it just looks like Colorado's Stanley Cup at this point. They've taken away with it. The Central, I would say their top 3 is pretty much locked in, unless any of these other Central teams just kick off. Pacific, I would say, Vegas and Edmonton honestly, the top 3 are still kind of moving around. The Pacific is kind of like all over the place, where you could still see some stuff shift. I do want to mention one of Colorado's loss was to Philly. They lost 7-3. Owen Tippett scored a hat trick against them in regulation at Colorado's home. So I think that's got to hurt their ego a little bit. God, I wish I could go back to when we were doing our little predictions, because what did I see in Vancouver? What is going on? It's so bad. They're the worst team in the NHL, and I put them in the playoffs. I had so much hope for them, and it just gone, reduced.
It's because you were giving me all the grief about Calgary's picks, and then the hockey gods
Oh
came
yeah,
out.
but I
And
mean,
said, okay,
Calgary's still out too, so I mean, it's not
I know.
exactly doing me any bad, but
We'll do that again where we take a look at our picks compared to the standings here as we when we get to probably about 60 65 games, probably maybe after the Olympic break we'll do that, because most of these teams have about 3 or 4 games left before their Olympic breaks hit. So that's a good segue if I ever did hear one myself. So down the road, I do want to give a shout out because I saw the quick little trailer for this today. I cannot wait to watch it. On January 30th, Netflix has come out with a documentary. It's called Miracle, The Boys of 80. It looks like, from what I could see in the little tidbit of it, I think they have every living member of the 80 team involved in this with interview segments. Mike Aruzian has come out and said it's amazing that it puts Miracle to shame as far as some of the content and stuff that they have in there. So I cannot wait, but that comes out on January 30th. So I have a funny feeling on our Olympic show on Monday, February 2nd, you will probably at least get my review of the Netflix documentary. And if you two get a chance to watch it before then, I'll let you two chime in on it too. But like, I was sitting here just a minute and a half of watching the trailer, and I was already getting the goosebumps and everything I always get. And of course, I'm wearing my Miracle shirt today too, so I wanted to wear that when talking about this today. So that looks very, very cool. But yeah, then Monday, February 2nd, we will be coming to you in prime time at 8 o'clock. We're going to do this show at 8 o'clock because I think it's going to be a little bit longer. We put a lot of work into the show for getting it ready. We are going to be doing all the teams' jerseys. We're going to rank the jerseys because it's important to, of not only of how well they play, but how they look. So you're going to get our rankings on the jerseys of where every team fits. We're going to break down the women's side of the draw, because the women's side is going to be amazing along with the guys. A lot of NHL talent is in this. This is going to be the first, where you got best on best since 2012. Granted, no Russia. We talked about that a little bit last week, which on the hockey side of it sucks, but I get it. Like, political side of it, I'm 100% on board with it. From the hockey fan side of it, I would love to see Russia in it, but that's just to have the total best on best there. But again, political side of it, I 100% get the why of it, and I support the why of it. So, but it's going to be fun. It's still going to be a great tournament. There are a lot of great teams. Don't just assume that it's going to be USA and Canada, especially on the men's side. There are a lot of teams with a lot of Olympic talent and a lot of NHL talent that have just as much of a chance as USA and Canada to be in that gold medal game. So that is what's coming up for us down the road. And then, of course, as we talked about at the beginning, you can watch our shows live on YouTube and Facebook. Listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Catbox, and Odyssey. And if you don't just want to hear the three of us ramble on, there's plenty of other shows for you to choose from too. You got the Pretenders and Contenders with Coach Powell at 7. That's coming up later, and we talked about his guest. Let me go back here real quickly if I can, and I'll pull back up who he's got on his show, because he did have that here. So that's who's going to be on with Pretenders and Contenders tonight at 7. Then you got Unapologetic Sports at 6:30 tomorrow night. I was on with them last week, had a lot of fun. That's a great show too. They seem to dive more in on the football side, but they give their thoughts on everything, and it's a really fun being with Brian and Lee Ice. So the Ices were together as one, which was fun. Then you got the Tuesday night flight after that, Nothing But Net on Wednesdays. In the passenger seat with Gemma and Jack, he's got a lot of great interviews lined up. I think he's got guests lined up, he said, for the next 2 or 3 months. So we're gonna have plenty of stuff there from him. Thursday night throwdown, the Gridiron on Saturday, WrestleMania Saturday night, which started us all, and then the Sunday morning rise on Sunday. So that is everything that we have to offer you. So with that, Scott, any last thoughts before we say bye-bye?
Are we going to have the gentleman on to give us the starting 5 of the Finnish team?
I have asked, I've offered to have both the gentleman Jack, and I also would not mind if we can get KG or Midnight Rider on for some of the names. I think we could have a whole fun segment there. So yeah, I'm working on it to confirm who's going to be willing on stepping out of their comfort zone and do name that player bit. So hopefully we can get a couple of them on.
And my guess is going to be some pretty good Italiano names in there too. So
yes, I know. We got to wait for. I got to look at the Italian roster. I haven't looked at that one yet too. So especially on the ladies side, because the ladies don't have. They've got a couple, but I don't think. Well, even on the men's side, I think they did not go the route of trying to. Okay, well, this guy's dad was his granddad was Italian, so he's going to play on the Italian team. So I don't think they have anyone like that.
They hosted it in like the mid '90s. I forget where it was, like Turin or somewhere. I forget, but they hosted in mid '90s. And their starting goaltender was a guy named Jason Muzzatti, who was the backup for the Hartford Whalers. And we're like, yeah, come on, go Italy. I mean, he got smoked, but Muzzatti.
Hey,
Muzzatti.
He figured out a way to get in there. And with that, here, hold on, I gotta go ahead, Sarah. You got any last thoughts on anything?
Okay. So I have a fun little bit for you guys. I'm not sure if you have heard about this, but Harry Styles, I'm sure some of you guys might know, but post One Direction, he's going on tour for next season, right? He's touring at Madison Square Garden, obviously, but I want you to guess how many shows he has at Madison Square Garden. If you haven't
5.
seen already.
I didn't. I'm totally guessing 5.
5? Yeah. You guys are both wrong. He has 30 shows at Madison Square Garden, but this goes into my next point. So he starts Madison Square Garden late August, which isn't a huge deal because preseason hasn't really started yet. But this goes until September, which New York, the Rangers, are having their preseason. Then it even goes into where the actual regular season, October, and he's in New York until the end of October, meaning the New York Rangers might not see a home game until November.
I bet there's probably some off days where then they'll have.
There's a little bit where they can make it work,
yeah.
But I just need you to know that there's 30 times where Harry Styles is going to be at Madison Square Garden.
Because Billy Joel had a residency like that at Madison Square Garden, where God, what was it? His residency was like 11 years, I think, where he played so many dates there a year, but it wasn't that many that quickly. But I guarantee you that the Rangers are still going to they have their dates to get their money. I promise you that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. But it's just absolutely crazy. Like
that would be.
I listen to Harry Styles, but I'm not like going to be obsessing over this. But
maybe the Rangers have to go on a road trip like Carolina does at the beginning of every hockey season.
Oh yeah, like the North Carolina State Fair, right? But I think it's only more than a State Fair trip.
Well, that was good stuff. That's always fun stuff too. So, well, there you have it, guys. That's a full show for us. I don't really have anything else to add on top of it from this from my side of the sports stuff. So I'll say what I always say. Make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them and hug them, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. And with that, then we will say adios. Good night. We'll see you next Monday.
Don't hit any deer. Nobody hit any deer.
Oh dear, do not hit any deer.
No deer. No deer.
And besides for that,
I get my estimate.
Scooter's doing his best Bambi impersonation right there. Although, well, no, not Bambi, because they don't have the horns. Can't be a Bambi if it has horns. So, but we'll see you guys.
Bambi's a boy.
Was Bambi a boy? Oh
yeah. Yes.
Never mind. I can't remember. How long has it been since I've seen that movie? That tells you that. So, and it wasn't one of my favorite Disney ones either. But all right, we've completely digressed. But we'll see you guys all next Monday, 8 p.m. for our Olympic hockey preview show, and we'll see who joins us and who's here or not. But we'll see you next Monday. Until then, everyone, adios. See you later. Bye.